Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Had a great weekend of wrestling, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're at the World Challenge this weekend.
Yeah, we're gonna break down the World Challenge, talk about there was some really good matches. I mean, it missed some of the bigger teams that didn't come, that usually come, like Gilroy wasn't there, but there was some, no Oakdale, no a couple other places. Bakersfield wasn't there.
Yeah, I was actually surprised not to see Bakersfield. And then we'll go over the Gilroy had that PNL thing also yesterday.
Talk a little bit
about like that. They, looking at some of the stuff, there was a lot of the better guys missing from there too. So we'll just kind of go over a few of the little highlights.
My favorite time of year. I mean, it feels like it. I can smell it in the air, right? It's that time of year where wrestling is coming back. I'm excited. The season's coming.
Yeah.
There's no stopping it. So we're going to get into it, guys. We're going to do, we'll talk about 108s.
Yeah, we'll dive right into 108s. 108s was one of the more competitive weight classes. There was a few ones that were more competitive than others. They had a little bit more high quality wrestlers, I would say.
Well, sure. And then the thing about this is that typically for the elite division, it's interesting, but it's a lot of the underclassmen. They come into this weight class because, they're trying to figure out who's who. But like you had eighth graders in there. So it was very interesting. This was a pretty good tournament because there were some key matchups there that could have implications down the road. But
I would say probably, at least for Central Valley wise, you had a Clovis kind of Buchanan matchup, right? We had Paulie Reese, who's an eighth grader, going against Anthony Garza from Clovis. And then, Garza just is coming off of a second place at the Grappler Classic. That we talked about him last week. And
last week he had a tremendous tournament.
He had some really good quality wins out there. And then he dropped a tough one to eighth grader Paulie Reese from Alta, who's the feeder for Buchanan.
Paulie looked good, man.
Yeah.
In that match, it was 5-1.
Well, they've gone back and forth, right? They wrestled each other a lot in the summer when they were in the summer duels. They caught each other at a couple other earlier on.
At Gilroy, they saw each other.
Yeah.
And they've gone back and forth, but I think Garza had his number maybe the last two times.
Yeah, I think Garza beat him the last two, and then this was a good one, man. Paulie ended up getting him 5-1 in the semis.
Pretty definitive. He did really well. For those of you guys who were out there, you guys got to see this match. Was pretty good. They went back and forth, but Paulie got it done, man. Like he's looking.
Yeah, he looks good. I'm excited for him for next season coming in.
And then he gets into the finals, right? He got into the finals with this kid. I believe he's from Elite Force.
Yeah,
Bakersfield.
So Bakersfield kid. Yeah, Elite Force. And
Levi, what is it? Levi
Mazel?
Yeah, sure. I'll go with that.
Hopefully we're not butchering this poor kid's name, man. But we saw the match. It was, Paulie looked like he had, he was kind of controlling it a little bit, and then kind of had like a 2-on-1, kind of tried to shovel it down, got his head a little too low, and the kid just kind of bulldogged him over and stuck him, man. So if he's Elite Force, he's probably a Frontier kid, because I think most of the Elite Force kids feed into Frontier. Yeah.
That's good. But you watch this match, right? And so Paulie is winning this match.
Yeah.
He is actually dominating this match when it all went down.
Yes.
And Paulie made a couple mistakes. He sat in there. And the kid was able to capitalize it. And I think Paulie hesitated. He got into this position. I think he was coming up on a tripod or whatever, and he's coming back up, and the kid was able to. He caught Paulie.
Yeah.
And threw him right to his back.
Yeah. Like I said, he basically Paulie just basically gave him his head, and he just kind of bulldogged him over,
Those are the tough ones. And then you learn from that, right? A couple of us, we've been there. We've seen our kids get caught.
Maybe a little bit of year of experience at that level, maybe maturity-wise, kind of thing. But, yeah, good on the kid. He capitalized on a mistake, and, he took it.
That's it. That was probably the name of the game. You make a mistake, I'll make you pay for it.
Yeah, so, and then Garza, just to finish it up, Garza actually ended up finishing third. He won a major decision 11-2 over a Poe.
Big.
Elijah Poe, Church Boys, which is basically Calvary Chapel's feeder team. Good. So, not bad.
We're going to 15s. What'd you think about 15s?
So, 15s was had some names. It was more a lot of there was 3 Buchanan kids in this weight. I would say going into it, Rockland Zinkin, Doc B champ last year, state runner up last year.
Sure.
Pretty much, I think was
his show to
definitely the favorite going into it. And wasn't really tested, man. Rockland went and just did what he was supposed to do. He got a 12-2 major in the quarter, beat his teammate Blake Woodward 7-1 in the semis.
That was probably his toughest match there.
Yeah, and you go against a training partner, somebody you're in the room with all the time. They kind of know each other. They're familiar with what everybody does. It's going to be a little bit of a closer match. So, yeah, that was probably his toughest match of the day.
Yeah, and Rockland looked good. He was firing off. He was, finding attacks. It's good stuff, getting out the bottom quickly. The other thing, guys, this tournament, for better or worse, was 2-1-1. Which, who works 2-1-1 at high school level?
I get it's a preseason tournament, but, it puts you really where the first period is very crucial because you're getting 1 minute.
You got to score.
You're getting 1 minute to either ride out or escape, and then if you get a takedown in the first period, you're that much more ahead.
Yeah, now you're ahead.
And it just makes it very hard. I don't understand it. It's a high school tournament. I wish they would just adopt
at least 1.5, right? Like you got to give them time to work. This isn't 8th grade, 6th grade stuff. I mean, 1 minute.
Well, then when you got into consoles, now there was a lot of good wrestlers that got into the consoles, and that was what I think one.
The difference.
I think it was 1-1-1. I think or 1.5, 1.5.
Yeah, it's even worse.
Yeah, so made it really.
Well, it didn't help that we started 2 hours late. That kind of thing. So because some kids did leave, some kids left.
So basically, I mean, if you've never gone, I'm sure most people have gone to World Champs before. Basically, they have varsity and the girls together in the morning session. So varsity is kind of your kids that haven't had maybe the best competition or incoming freshmen trying to figure it out, and then they had the girls with it, which it seems like every year when they do it. The elite never starts on time.
I just think, why do those things? It's a money thing, man. I can't explain it any other way. I mean, you have one division, high school, have whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It's like the hard luck, the equivalent, the whole hard luck thing. I just think then you dilute stuff or guys don't show because they got hurt in the first one.
Well, you've seen a lot of that, right? You've seen some guys, they bang out in the morning, it's a long day for them in the morning, and then they want to do the lead. They want to challenge themselves and go against some of the, maybe the more advanced style wrestlers. And then, they just back out or, they just kind of quit midway through.
Right.
And then, then it runs a little late, right? So
way late, 2 hours. That's just ridiculous. But it happens, and there was big numbers, and they were expecting whatever, and it took longer. But they try to cram everything into one thing.
I would like to see them maybe put the girls on Sunday. Now, I don't know if it's because it's high school, that maybe there's a rule that high schools can't wrestle on a Sunday.
Possibly. But this is preseason stuff. I could see that during season, but not during preseason stuff.
Because I got to figure, even as big as girl wrestling is getting, not just in California but overall, I would imagine their brackets are.
They're getting bigger, and they deserve their own thing too. I mean, I don't know. It just dilutes the thing, and it took longer than we were. We were there. Oh, we'll get a warm up. Get 45 minutes, whatever. We'll warm up, and we got there. Like 12 something.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to start at 2, and then they didn't get rolling until about 4.
Right.
Yeah.
And we didn't get started till 4.
But we're finishing at 15s. So Rockland's going to beat Carlos Magoza from Kingsburg.
9-0, right?
9-0 major.
Who took the third?
Blake Woodward Buchanan actually took third. He beat a Hull.
Yes, he let's see.
Yeah, Quentin Hull from Clovis West.
West, yeah. 6-0.
6-0. Yeah. So Blake lost to Rockland, ended up taking third. So this one had some pretty good matchups. Outside of Rockland just kind of cruising through to the finals.
He did what he came to do for sure. And so we'll move to 22s. Let's see. Well, Thunder Lewis was there, right?
Yeah. So
I think he was the number 1 seed there.
Yeah. So Thunder took.
He won the thing.
I think what was Thunder? Took a 3rd or a 4th last year at state. I think, something like that. Looking at the weight, there were some decent kids. So Thunder had a 4-0 win over Alamares from Vacaville.
Alamares, yep.
And then in the finals, he had Elijah Valencia out of Merced.
And he beat. That was a sudden victory. They went into overtime.
So I actually was sitting right kind of in front of that mat area when they were wrestling, and man, that was a tough match, man. I mean, they were both kind of going back and forth and going to overtime. And the overtime one, it almost looked like Valencia might have had a takedown, right at the edge of the mat. Ended up calling him out of bounds. It was really close. Like, I mean, it could have been one of those where you could have gave it to him, depending on, the ref.
Sure.
But yeah, so they call him out of bounds, and then there was only a little bit of time left in overtime. And I don't know if Valencia just got a little eager and he just took a bad shot and then, just went around and secured the 2 for Thunder. But Thunder's tough, man. I don't know if he goes 22s this year for Clovis, but he's going to be good. He gave Rockland last year one of his 2 losses, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So he's definitely going to be a handful depending on whatever weight he ends up going. He's a scrappy kid. He's tough.
Well, they come to wrestle. I mean, it's good. And good on him. Congratulations. Took a first. So who took that third then? Let me make sure I didn't miss that.
So 22s.
That was the Alvarez kid. Yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
In fact, he beat Clark. I think you pronounce it Clark. For Zachary Clark from Porterville.
Oh.
But Vacaville always has a pretty good lineup. They got some good kids
well trained.
up there.
Absolutely, they're pretty solid. Their program is really good. So what do we go to? 28.
28. So this one was one of the better weight classes, I think. I mean, the 1 seed was Antonio Rodriguez, who last year was a Doc B runner-up.
Yep.
State runner-up, and then on the other half had CJ Huerta, who was third at state last year too. So this one had some pretty good kids. The sleeper kid was Victor Gutierrez, who actually ended up winning the tournament from Central Catholic. Yeah.
If you don't know Victor, I mean, the kid is Alex, right?
Yeah,
Alex Gutierrez. I mean, he's got so many different profiles out there, but the kid is pretty good.
He's tough
fundamentally, and he's a bigger boy. He's strong.
Yeah, he definitely was a big 128 pounder.
Yeah,
but he moves well.
Yep.
He's very athletic, and he got to win. He got to win over the kid
Antonio.
You got to win under Antonio. You got to win over CJ Huerta so he beat the number 2 and the number 3 kid at state last year. Granted, they were both at 115s last year.
Right.
But I mean, good on him.
Because I think he competed last year at 126s as well.
Yeah, I think he was the same weight as he was last year.
Yeah.
But Alex is tough, man. I mean, good on him. He
took advantage of his stuff for sure.
Those are quality wins, man. So just going with the final, I mean, he had a really good dump on CJ in that second. It was really nice. And then, I mean, he grounded out some really good wins. I mean, that was one of the better. I mean, for him, that's a good tournament for him, and he got some very good wins.
Well, even like CJ had that match with his training partner too, right?
Yeah.
Paris
so if you go to the final, so the semis. So CJ had Paris, who what I mean, Paris for just to jump to third place. Paris took Antonio Rodriguez into overtime.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it was.
So, I mean, Antonio pulled it out, I mean, Antonio's really good. He's good on his feet. Where Paris is he's a monster on top, man. The kid's a really good leg rider.
Yeah, you're gonna have a hard time trying to get him off of you.
Right. So, I mean, for Antonio to pull that one out, good on him to grind out.
6-4 overtime.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, man, Paris is tough, man. I mean, last year he had a win over eventual state champ Ronnie Ramirez at Doc B.
Yep.
He just took Antonio Rodriguez to basically overtime. He had a close match with CJ. It was 4-1. They're teammates. They know each other. There was a real close, gritty match. Paris has a good shot to be a contender this year. Now I'm not sure where he goes or if he ends up. Buchanan has a lot of good kids around that same kind of weight. I mean, it's just like anything else. So, but if he does eventually get in the lineup, or I mean, he's going to be pretty tough depending on where he goes and how he ends up going.
Well, I mean, that was probably one of the better brackets filled with stuff.
He's good. I mean, like we said last week, right? They're going to use this for rankings at the beginning of the season, I guess. So, I mean,
that's what they said. We'll see how that all goes.
Yeah, but I mean, he had 2 quality wins there, so I mean, he's got a leg up on the rankings already.
See, I got to believe he's where he's probably going to be for the season.
I would imagine so.
But we'll see, because I think Antonio drops. I think a couple of those kids are, they're just going there.
Yeah, you're just closer going wherever you're walking around for the most part. But yeah, I would imagine he's where he's going to go for the season.
Yeah,
but yeah, good for him. And he had a hell of a tournament. He had 2 good wins. I mean, good on him. So you want to go to
33s. Who did we have? We had number 1 seed was that Leo Maestas kid out of Clovis West, right?
Yes, and then you had Anthony Lucio. Fountain. Basically, he's a Fountain. It was Orange County RTC, but
Right.
he's a Fountain Valley kid.
Now, did you see Duran in their corner?
I did see Duran. Now we talked about that a while back,
Yeah.
right? That Duran left Gilroy and he's
Yeah.
over. He's over
At
with
the
Fountain
RTC.
Valley.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, no, they had actually a lot of kids that came down from over there, and that's a drive, man. But this weight was a decent weight too. It had some pretty good kids. So you had Leo Maestas, who is coming off a Fargo champ, 16U
yes.
Fargo champ.
Congratulations to him.
So
that was good.
Yeah.
But it seems like he pinned, and then a decision in the finals. Right?
Yeah, he had
Ed Shearing.
He had EJ Shearing, who's kid's tough, man. He's pretty good. He's always out there competing. And,
he's good, dude. He's thick. He's
big. He's big for 33s. Now I don't know if he goes 33s or 28s, but I mean, he had good wins. EJ Shearing had a pretty good one. He beat Ivan Arias from Buchanan 4-2. That was a tough match. And Ivan, speaking of Ivan too, I mean, he looks pretty good, man.
Yeah, sometimes he puts himself in those situations. I was watching some of his matches. He likes to shoot that low single, and or ends up getting.
He's a scrambler, right? He likes to get in there and start rolling around a little bit. But he had a good win later on too. Speaking of Ivan, I mean, he took third. He beat Anthony Lucio from Fountain Valley, who we just talked to. It was a 2 seed, and I think Lucio was 6 at state last year too. At one,
that's really good for Ivan.
So I mean,
he did good.
Ivan's going to be another like Paris, man. You know, we've talked about Ashton Bezer before too. The three of them are, they're all three pretty much.
They're in contention, man.
Spot, man. Yeah,
that's what makes that particular team so competitive. I mean, they're right there. All of those kids are right there. They're banging on the door and trying to figure out who's going to go where, right?
Yeah, so, and they're all probably whoever gets in that lineup, they're gonna be good. They're gonna do some really nice things for Buchanan.
For sure. Let's go to 38s. I mean, this was 38s. You had Gavin Bowder there, and I mean, I personally, when I saw this bracket, I said, okay, he's gonna dominate this thing. I wasn't necessarily anybody that would have gave him competition, but I was very surprised.
Definitely one of the lighter weight classes. But I mean, you had Gavin Bowder, you had White Lewis, who we've talked about before. He's an incoming freshman Clovis, and he's going to do pretty good too.
Well, Wyatt, I mean, let me see where Wyatt ended up, because I don't think, he lost to the Vasquez kid 4-2. That was a tough match. I remember, because that basically put him out, right? Like
and then you had Joseph Ramirez.
Joseph Ramirez was there. You had Timmy Marabito was there from Los Gatos as well. Yes. He took a 5th.
Yeah, it looks like Ramirez took a 4th. He lost to Espiritu Ryan.
Yeah, that was a tough match there. I saw that at the end, and
2-0. I mean, it's a close match, right?
Yeah, but Gavin, I mean, I was surprised he had the
Granada from Clovis.
That's right. It was 6-3.
Yeah, and it's another Buchanan Clovis matchup, and I imagine they're going to see each other multiple times during the year. So Gavin's got one up on him right now.
Well, and Gavin has a phenomenal motor, right? Like, he is constantly attacking. The kid was able to slow him down a little bit in that finals, but I think he was in control. He's doing his thing. It's 6-3, but
yeah, I mean, and then Gavin's state runner up last year, so I mean he's a solid wrestler. But I know with Clovis, one thing about it is they always seem to make adjustments. So the more and more these two see each other, you can see some different scoring.
They'll make some adjustments and wrestle a little different. That's good. So
really
we got 43s.
So 43s.
We had Joseph Toscano, right? Number 1 seed.
Yeah, state runner-up, Doc B champ last year. Joe's a stud. We all know Joe. Joe's a stud. This weight class was okay. He had James Wright from Clovis in the final.
I mean, he didn't have any problem.
I mean, when I saw the list and I saw the brackets come out, I figured Joe was going to probably run through this weight class.
And he did. He did what he came to do. I mean, he dominated in the finals, 11-0.
Yeah, he had 2 pins leading up to it, and then he had an 11-0 major decision in the final. So it kind of went on how I kind of expected. What kind of surprised me though was Tommy Holguin from Sobrato. was all the way up there. Now he wrestled, I think, like 120s or 115s last year, and he's up like 4 different weight classes.
If you don't know Tommy, I mean, Tommy is I don't even know how to describe it. He's taller than me now, and that's not saying much, but like he is tall. He's got longer. He's grown some, which is impressive. I mean, and they hit that bump. His brother Clemente, same thing. He hit a late bloomer kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he hit his bump. I mean, good on him. I was surprised to see him at this weight, but he handled it well. He took ended up taking a third.
Yeah, taking a third. And like we said, he's up a few weight classes, so he's probably still trying to get used to
his body.
The body, yeah. But yeah, so this weight, like I said, nothing really surprised me in this one. I figured Joe was going to run through it.
They went through it. Yeah, we'll go over to 48s. Damian Montoya was a number 1 seed right out of Red Wave.
Yeah.
And then you had, who else was at the bottom?
We had Jax Frost from Buchanan, who was the 2 seed. And Jax,
he had a tough day.
He had a tough day. Yeah, he ended up losing in, I think both his matches he lost were in overtime.
Yeah, that was tough because he lost that first one in overtime right out of the gates. So put him on the other side immediately. And, I mean, kind of hard time finding his footing and stuff. But those are tough. Those are tough matches.
Yeah, ended up another Vacaville kid, Marini, ended up making the final to go against Damian, right?
He's been around for a while. Marini, he's out of Vacaville. The kid, Jonathan used to wrestle him. I mean, the kid's not bad. He's been to some high level competition, and I was, they're 148 pounds. He's taller. I don't know how that went down because then he was, what was the final? It was 3-0 Montoya.
3-0 Montoya. Now
Montoya's looking.
He looks good, right? I think we saw his. I can't remember which match we saw him with. I think it was the semifinal match. We've seen him, and he looks good.
He's starting to look like his brother, man.
Yeah,
he moves his foot movement. He's looking lean. He's getting after it.
Yeah, he's really improved from last year.
Yeah,
from where he's at. I mean, he's always been a pretty solid wrestler, but he's looking really good.
Very offensive minded.
Yeah,
now.
He looks really good so far.
He pinned. Did he have that? Who did he have a tough match with?
So he had a 1-0 match with Shabazian. I think he was at Shamanat last year.
Shamanite kid. Okay.
Yeah, Shamanite kid. He ended up taking third.
Yeah, that kid came back.
He's tough. He's tough. I remember seeing him last year here at World Challenge. I think he took second last year, but he's good, man. He's not bad.
Well, good on Montoya, man. He's over at where's he at now? He's at Memorial.
Yeah, they're at the new Memorial.
So this will be good. I mean, he's doing good, looking good. Hey, he won this thing. Good job. Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
And, Memorial had, like I said, they're a new program that just started for this year here in the central section. They had quite a bit of kids that was out there, surprisingly.
Well, they're Red Wave kids. I mean, they're all...
I mean, anybody knows Sergio Montoya, his dad is the new head coach over there. They got that program going. They got Damani, I think, is one of their assistants who's, kind of the coach at Red Wave. So they have a lot of Red Wave kids in there. But, I'm curious to see how that goes for them this season. Kind of curious to see.
Well, it's the first year, right? So they'll put in some work and then see how these guys do. And see if, how that whole season progresses. But we're just starting off. So
Yeah. And I would imagine Montoya, he's the upperclassman. I imagine he's going to be the leader of that team and see how they go.
For sure. So now let's move on. Probably the most anticipated bout probably in the evening, right? So 155.
So this one I was looking forward to it because this one was, again, one of the deeper weight classes at the tournament. It was kind of spotty, but this one was one of the better ones. So you had 2-time state champ Miguel Estrada as the 1 seed. You had, on the bottom half, you had EJ Parco from Los Gatos, who last year at one time was ranked number one in the country,
in the nation,
right?
Yeah, in the country.
And he's good. He looked really good.
Well, and it's his brother was in his corner, right?
Yeah.
That always helps, right?
Yeah,
so
he had
but
his brother. So
I will tell you that what I was surprised about. So Miguel just looks like Miguel, right?
Well, I mean, Miguel's he's an Iowa commit. He's a 2-time state champion. If you want to count COVID year, you could almost say he's a 3-time state champ because he won that too. For sure.
And the thing is, though, like his quarterfinals match, I was not expecting that. So he's wrestling the kid at
Noah Reynolds
Clovis. And Noah Reynolds, I mean, he came to wrestle. He didn't care who that was.
All he could handle.
The score's 3-2, people. But if you get a chance to watch this match, it's on Flow. Go watch that. I mean, he had a phenomenal return back on Miguel. I was really impressed. Like, he didn't stop wrestling him, most people, they see Miguel's like, oh boy, play dead, but there was no playing
No,
dead.
the kid.
He said, I come here to wrestle.
The kid was at him and gave him everything he could handle.
I was impressed. And Miguel, stayed composed, found a way, finished it, then goes back in his semifinals and goes 11-3 on who do you wrestle? I think one of the Dobulskis.
He had one of the Dobulska kids from Clovis North.
So I think it was Max, and then you had the finals match. So let's talk a little bit about that. I think people are going to watch that.
Yeah. So
there was a lot of filling each other out. I think. I mean, I was sitting there because Jonathan was going next in the same.
Right. Match. Yeah. We were right in front. We watched it.
But there was a lot of filling each other out. What I would say is, I think Parco did a phenomenal job of taking away Miguel's tie-up, and I'll go from there and see what.
Yeah. No. I mean, he, like you said, he did. Like Miguel. I mean, anybody who's wrestling Miguel, he gets his hands on you. He just grinds you out.
He moves.
He starts getting you going. Yeah. And, I mean, Parco did a good job of thumb blocking, just snapping off anything and just kind of moving it out. He's, Parco's really athletic. And the speed advantage definitely was in Parco's favor.
Well, in his ability to evade the tie-ups. Now, and I'm just calling it how it was, right, in the match, and everybody will watch it, and they'll go back and see this. But there wasn't anything, neither of them were really taking like a committed shot to go get a takedown. They were just kind of filling each other out because I don't think Miguel was comfortable in the control points that he had, and then Parco was mostly he wasn't looking for takedowns, not till the end of the match, like where he really started to build in the confidence.
I think like you said, I think he built confidence where it's like, all right, I kind of got this guy. I think I could do all right. But like you said, most of the first couple periods were just kind of. Just kind of
putting your hands on.
Yeah, not really, kind of hand fighting, but just kind of evade out of, not letting Miguel kind of slow him down and tie him up.
I think Miguel looked like a couple of times he was going to fire off. So I'm not sure if it was mostly just the mutual respect, like, hey, he's pretty fast. I'm going to feel this out. But it goes into deep water. And remember, guys, this is 2-1-1, right? So now in the first period, 2 minutes, they get a little time to work, no score. They go into the, second and third period. I think Miguel went down first.
I believe so.
Yeah, because he scored first. So he gets out, no score, right? They chase each other around, work through some processes, trying to get to attacks. Then EJ goes down.
Right.
He gets out.
Gets away. It's 1-1. And then, so they get away. Like I said, they were hand fighting a little bit. And then something happened where Miguel kind of, I think Parco shot him for a shot, and he down blocked, and he kind of tweaked his ankle kind of looked like. So
I don't know if he rolled it. We were right in front of it, but as Miguel was going out, it appeared to me that Parco was in on the legs on a reattack, and they were heading out of bounds.
Right.
I think Parco finishes that, depending on how that goes, because he was there, and this is in overtime.
Well,
right?
that, and then those mats were small, man.
Oh man, that's the thing. Like 2 steps and you're out of mat. Anyhow, so but he's at the edge, and then what it looked like to me was that Parco accidentally or whatever as he landed.
It kind of looked like he
just kind of knee landed
his
on
shin or knee landed on his ankle, right? And then he had kind of hurt it earlier in one of their.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. So earlier in the third, in one of the little flurries, Miguel kind of blocked, and kind of when he hopped back to down block, it looked like he might have rolled his ankle. And then so like how we were talking later in overtime when they're on the edge. That it looked like his knee or shin. Yeah, so I think he kind of tweaked it earlier in the match.
And it's kind of, hopefully he's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they'll get that x-rayed, and, you're getting ready to go to Super 32. He was signed up, I think, at 150s. And, it's a tough thing to see that, because injuries are not a matter of if they're going to happen. It's a matter of when they're going to happen.
Yeah.
So injuries do happen in this sport.
And he's just coming off a shoulder surgery from last year, too, where he missed a good part of the season. To that, so hopefully he's okay. I mean, hopefully it's nothing that's too serious.
I hope so too. I mean, it was a really good match. There was so many people watching that thing, but I will tell you, like, I think if you just take the match for what it was, at the end, Miguel was, maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Like, he's feeling that or whatever. But Parco continued to wrestle the positions.
Yeah,
and then he got to that reattack. And why not? You're in overtime. This is it, right? So
he was.
Score.
Parco was game. I mean, once they hit overtime and he knew they just needed a takedown. I mean, he was really coming after Miguel, man.
I always tell people, if you don't think people watch video, Parco made huge adjustments to wrestle him the way that it took Miguel's strategy out. Like he didn't let him tie. He was not letting him get into a hook. He's not doing all of the right things in order to do it. And then you got to counter that and figure out on the match, on the fly, how am I going to deal with that? But that was a pretty good one. I mean, hopefully
I was excited about that one too, and hopefully he's not too hurt. And
who took a third there?
So the Bosco from North took a third, and he actually beat Noah Reynolds 5-1.
That's
it's the same Reynolds that took Miguel 3-2 in the quarter. So not bad. I mean, that's a good win for the Bosco.
Yeah, man, that was. I mean, and it was one of the bigger brackets, right? I think it was the biggest bracket.
Yeah, this one was pretty deep. It had some pretty good guys.
That's pretty good, man.
Let's go to 63s.
63s. Who was at 63?
So 63s, you had
Dylan Pyle.
Los Gatos Dylan
number
Pyle.
Number 1 seed. I think he took fourth last year at States at 60s.
Yeah. So then you had the other DeBosco brother from North, Mark. And then the 2 seed was Adrian Reyes from Clovis.
Yeah, Adrian. I was, he was in this. I mean, it was good. I'm trying to figure out who did he have in the semis. Did I see that match? It was the other Bosco kids. Yes.
Yeah, and it was close. It was 3-2.
3-1, I think, right?
Yeah, 3-1. You're right. 3-1.
So they went in there, and then he gets into the finals, and I mean, he gave Pyle a pretty good match. It was 3-0. Pyle won that, but this is one of those weight classes, I think, too, that people will probably, depending where they go or they fluctuate or who's there or who's not.
Right.
That was pretty good, because then who took a third? That was the Mark kid, right? So
yeah, the other DeBosco kid took a 3-1 over Daniels, Noah Daniels, Sheldon Wrestling. But yeah, I mean, this one was not bad. This was a pretty good weight class right here.
Yep. All right, so where are we going now? We're gonna go 74s.
74s. So 74s was, so you had John Rocha Buchanan, who was the 1 seed.
Yep, he was a 1 seed. Then they had
Nagra from Vacaville.
Vacaville, good kid. He was the number 2 seed.
Right, and then you had some other, Buchanan kids in there. You had Branson John, who was in here.
Ended up winning it all. He did really good, man. He took out the Narga. That match was very gritty. He did really well. Had a phenomenal tournament. Found ways to score when he needed to score, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I mean, Branson's tough. He's great. Like I said, tough. He had some really close matches. He had
Brock, who was another Buchanan kid, right?
Yeah, there was a few Buchanan kids in there. So that was 3-2 to Brock Kitchens. He beat the Nagra kid 3-0, and then
definitely the bottom side had probably more,
a little more deep
quality. For sure.
Wise.
Because even on the top, I think you had. Some of those kids I didn't know who they were, but they came to wrestle.
Well, you had Kel McDonald, right, in Fountain Valley.
That one for sure. Jonathan had him in the semis.
Yeah, he's a big kid, man.
Well, he's like his brother.
Yeah,
Jonathan's like he remembered him, so
he's not as thick as his brother, but he's a good sized kid, he's a quality wrestler. He's solid, and John majored him 11-0 to get into the final.
Yeah.
I mean, in the final, you can tell that they were teammates. While they're wrestling, it was just one of those things where, they know what each other wants to do, and, you see them counter that. And then,
I mean, it went scoreless in the first period.
Right.
And then in the second, Jonathan gets out, goes down, gets out. They don't score each other. And I mean, I think Branson gets out in the third.
Right.
So now we're tied up.
It's 1-1.
And I mean, what I will say is, I always laugh because hey, good on you for keep shooting. Keep trying to get to attacks, keep trying to do something.
Yeah.
But you can't take that. You can't make the same mistake. You can't be doing the same shot or the same setup.
Right.
And so it was kind of funny because with like 10 seconds left to go into overtime.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, 10 seconds, Jonathan fires off. And he took the same shot. Bad shot, head down, butt up, that kind of thing. And good on Branson, right? Yeah. Branson immediately hit a go behind. Jonathan tried to come up, came too high, and then he dropped in the score too. Had like 4 seconds left to try to
it was a good shot. It was a good job by Branson.
Absolutely.
I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, and like I said, you could just tell that throughout the match that they were teammates. They were they were getting
those are good matches right there. Yeah, and good on Branson. He did really well. Found a way to score when it mattered, and that's really it. I mean, I'm sure we'll see each other. They'll see each other.
Yeah, I'm sure that will figure itself out.
Well, they're both going to Super 32 at the same weight class.
Are they?
So they'll be at their 165, so it'll be good. But it was good. I was hoping to put in some work this weekend, and they did. I'm glad they did something.
Yeah, I mean, they both got quality matches going into Super 32, which is what you want. You don't want to get just kind of a cakewalk through where you're going when you're
not really sure if you're going to be like, are you drilling and you're doing the right things at that level? I mean, either way that win goes is good quality
Yeah,
wins for
but like I
whoever
said,
did
I
that.
mean, Branson. I mean, I imagine he makes to be kind of lineup, and wherever he goes or how it works out, I mean, they're both gonna be solid.
This is
year.
one of those other weight classes, right, where they're both very close, they're very competitive, and so
Right.
one of them is going to go up or down, or however they go.
They had 3 guys just in this weight class around the same weight. So that's just another one of those things when you have a deep team where you're going to have a lot of good guys around the same weight.
Well, and hopefully that's what fuels every one of them to be better, to try to compete and be, hey, I got to make those adjustments. And
right.
I mean, that kid Narga came back and took a third. He beat the McDonald kid 5-1. So those were tough matches. They were good matches.
No, yeah, I said this. Like I said, this weight class was one of the deeper weight classes with some pretty good guys in it. So
it was good, and you could see like the kids were moving around, and I think they're making that adjustment because they changed the weight classes. Right, it's 174 all the way up to 190.
It made a big difference.
Or 75 to 90s. It's going to be interesting. I wonder like how people will compress into these weight classes.
Yeah, because you're going to see some kids that might be borderline. To you're either going to be kind of small and you're just going to have to really eat, or you're going to have to really cut down, man.
It's a decision you got to make. And so I always tell them, you don't want to cut weight. You got to be better than that. So
So good, good weight class. It was a good one to do prior, getting ready for Super 32. We could skip to 192. So 184 had like
real quick
one kid.
It is terrible. So I'll talk about the 84 because I think it's just terrible. So this is, again, in my opinion, the whole money grab nonsense. You're making up weight classes. If you're going to say
184 is not a high school weight class,
it's not a high weight class. Yeah. Not only that, but you can't say you're going to use seeding criteria and then make up weights so you can make money.
Right. Because I think outside of that, they missed a few weight classes. Like they had 55, which is not a weight class.
Right.
They had 48, not a weight class. And these weren't even last year weight classes.
Well, and it forced the other kids to move out of the 84 up to 92s. I mean, everybody can see it. It's on track, but you see where people weighed in, which was very interesting.
Right.
But they had to, because then they're like, well, I'm not going to cut the 74s right now, and I'm not going to make 84s because there's nobody there, so I'm going to do whatever I need to do. But so we'll go to 92s. I just want to make sure. That's like, it's crazy to me. Like, it's not even a weight class right now. So why do that?
Yeah, I don't understand and we've seen this with other tournaments. I don't understand the mentality of
that's money
using weight classes that aren't. I mean, I understand giving a +2 or +3 for whatever the weight classes will be. I just don't understand making up weight classes that have nothing to do with what's going to be at the high school season.
Doesn't make any sense, but it does to them because they got people to sign up and register. It's $70 a pop. But so you got the next one was 92s.
Yeah. So
I was shocked because I was hoping to catch this match again. Mason Ontiveros, number 1 seed. He went up to 92s.
Right.
I mean, he did really well out there. There was a smaller bracket again because I think people moved around. And in the bottom, who was Joe Buck?
Joe Buck from Clovis. Now, Joe Buck looks thick, man. He looks big, dude.
Brother, you have to look at the actual thing and the weigh-in, like what people weighed in.
Right.
Joe Buck came in probably the heaviest out of that weight class, and he looks good.
Yeah, he looks nice and strong and ready to.
But at 191s, I mean, it was or 92s. I was shocked. Like not just him, but some of the other kids.
Right. But even at a smaller weight class, had some pretty decent kids that have been wrestling for a while.
You had the Van Ness kid there was partnered with Ontiveros.
You had Sean Michael Roberts from Buchanan, who's a senior this year, looking to try to get in the lineup. You had Mick Williams.
I was shocked to see him that high up too, but I'm sure he was probably a kid who thought he was going to go 84s there, and the
they
weight
took
class
it away.
was
Now you got to make a decision, right?
But Joe Buck was, he got down there. Let's see, in the key matchups there were definitely in the semis, right? So you had
McWilliams against Buck.
And that was a 3-0 match.
Yes.
I mean, Joe Buck, like if you let him body lock you, you're in trouble.
Yeah, the kid's got kid wants to get his underhook, really good underhook, wants to just kind of muscle you around.
Yes.
And he's big enough to do it. I mean, he looked real solid out there.
Because then Mason, I mean, he kind of ran the training. He was doing good. Let's see, he got all the way to the semis. He had a bye. That's weird in the quarters. And then, so in the semis, he had Shawn Michaels. Right?
Yeah, so he had Shawn Michael Roberts.
7-0.
Beat him 7-0. And then Shawn Michael Roberts had McWilliams for third and grinded out a 7-6 win.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's really good. That's gritty. That's good.
Yeah.
Because he came back and in the finals, Mason and Joe Buck, and it was 5-1. Is that what it is?
Yeah. And Mason, I watched it, and Mason just kind of controlled the whole thing. Didn't let Buck get to his underhook that he likes.
Well, he's just as strong as him. He's like, you're not going to throw
and Mason and up at 92s, Mason looked all of 192 pounds.
Right.
I mean, he's a big, strong kid. He's got a gas tank on him. He's got a motor. He does not stop.
It's clobbering time. Yeah. When they put their hands
he
on
looked
you,
really good.
Yeah.
He looked really good.
Because he's.
Yeah, I don't know if he goes that way. I don't know if he ends up
I suspect
back down.
he gets down to 75.
Yeah, but Mason looked good, man.
He did. But like the week before or whatever in Gilroy, I didn't see any of the Borelli kids, but Brock, I'm telling you, at this weight class is going to make some noise, man. He just dominated.
Well, like we said, right? It's interesting to see with these new weights what kid,
they're going to move up or down,
and then some kids might have been last year cutting a little bit more than they should have, were undersized for whatever weight they ended up having to go. So this might help out some kids and might be detrimental for some others, So it'd be curious to see how it ends up shaking out later in the season.
I tell you, you just keep lifting, get lean, get strong, get all things get technical because you're going to require it. Some of these guys do make that cut. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So we'll go over to 218s, and I honestly don't know a lot of these kids.
I'm the same with you. So pretty small bracket. I think there was 7 or 8 kids in this one. So Angel Cervantes, Cosmos Wrestling Cub.
Where's that?
Oh, then I'll let you know right now. So that's Bakersfield. So it's a Bakersfield.
Okay.
It's Bakersfield.
So he won it all.
3-1
in the finals against the Eli Watson kid from, I want to say he's from Turlock somewhere, right?
Yeah, he is from Turlock. Yeah.
So that's good. 3-1, and then Houston. Somebody. Let's see. Jacob. No, it's Jonathan Houston.
Yeah, he's an Elk Grove kid. So he took a third. So pretty good.
All right.
Heavyweight. So this one I was looking forward to this one. So you had Kobe Merrill, who went in as unattached. I have no clue what high school he's going to be going to. Again, he's not at Gilroy with his brother. I know he's down south somewhere, but I don't know where he's going to be going.
Right.
So so he got the 1 seed, and he was I think he was second at state last year, right?
Yes.
And then
95s.
At 95s, right?
And he's at heavy.
He's at heavyweight.
288.
So who knows? He's at 288. I'm not quite sure what he weighed in at, but does he go the same weight as his brother who's at Gilroy, or does he try to get down to 215?
If they're not in the same school, right? That's going to be.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because I would have thought that he would have been down there with, I guess, in Orange County or whoever those guys came up with, Calvary Chapel or somebody.
Or Fountain Valley.
Said he was unattached, right?
Yeah, said unattached. So on the bottom half of that was Mark Marin from Clovis. And, they did what I figured. They both ended up in the final. And, man, that was a good match. Mero ended up pulling out 3-1 in overtime. Not a whole lot of stuff going on. Mero just had really good pressure on Mark Marin and the whole match. It was just a whole lot of hand fighting. Not a whole lot was kind of going on as far as like really trying to get into legs or anything. But Mero just really pressured him.
Now, did you see him? Does he move? He doesn't quite like the
He's not
speed as his brother.
He doesn't have the speed like his brother does, but the pressure and staying in good position and the hand fighting was really good.
Well, that weight class, right? So you think about it like this. Mark Marin came in at 202. That's what he weighed in at.
Right. So he's,
and Cody weighed in all of 232.
Yeah. So he probably goes heavyweight. If not, he's looking at cutting what? 15 pounds.
Well, and again, it's early on in the season and whatever,
right.
But I suspect like Mark will probably want to go 215s. Because I don't see him getting down to 190s.
He's underweight for heavyweight, obviously. If the max weight is 288 and you're weighing 202,
and this early on, but it's and I don't think either of those guys are registered for Super 32. Did you see that?
Don't believe.
I'll have to look at that again.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but I don't recall seeing their name standing out. But no, it was a good match. It went to overtime. Not a whole lot of time left in overtime, and Marin kind of took a lazy shot, I would say, and Kobe Mero just down block, go behind.
He went behind,
secured the takedown.
And that's interesting because that's Mark's kind of go to downward block, go behind.
Right. Yeah.
But he caught him like that.
Yeah. Like I said,
nice.
I don't know if he was kind of tired from the pressure. Like I said, Merrill was just pressuring him the whole thing, the whole match. He was just really pressuring. And he just kind of took a lazy bad shot, and he just down blocked it and got behind and secured the takedown.
Well, good. That's so you kind of get a little bit of a preview for the guys where they're going to be at the season, maybe, and how they're going to do. So I just wish that tournament would have had a little bit more of a turnout. from all over.
Yeah,
But
it was real hit and miss with weight classes that had pretty good, pretty high quality guys in there. Just to finish it off, a third
Yep.
was for an Escalante Josiah from Hollister. So that was pretty good. I told you, so we were talking about the match count for rounds and all that. One thing I noticed throughout the whole day too was, man, we got to do something with the reffing, man, on these guys calling stalling, dude. I mean I know it's kind of it drives me crazy. I mean, you see, and I seen it in multiple matches throughout the day that there was kids that were just basically getting pushed out of bounds, just backing out on their own, and especially at a tournament like this where you have a minute in a second and third round or whatever.
They're not going to call it.
It's ridiculous that
they got to dial it in, and the refs are doing the same thing. They're learning how to dial it in.
Yeah, I mean, it drives me crazy that I've seen, like I said, we've seen it over and over throughout the day that kids are just backing out or getting forced out, and we're not getting. They need to adopt college stuff, man. Well, where if you're walking out, we're even hitting you, or you're getting hit for a stall, you're getting hit for a fleeing.
100%. The problem with that is these guys don't necessarily have. I would say the refs. Let's just be honest. I mean, some of them had the reaction time of a dead squirrel, right? So, so they're not going to get into position when they're trying to look at this, or even then, like the mats were so small that when they were moving out,
that too,
they're trying to figure out what's happening in the match, and they're not quite there. But I hope they dial it in because some of these, some of the bigger matches, and you got to be able to do that. Yeah. So. But I'm with you on that. It was bad.
To me, it was like, come on, man. You guys got to help. You got to help the sport here too, just like anything else, and get it going here, man.
Well, some of them refuse to get down, right? I get kind of mad about that. Like they, whatever, they'll swipe, they don't swipe, whatever they do. But for sure, I mean.
But you see, like I said, we'll be at Super 32 in a few weeks, and just like a wrestler, you have to. If you're doing a big match or anything like that, you gotta know match awareness, just like a wrestler has to know match awareness. If you only have a minute and you've got two really high quality wrestlers that are really getting after it, they get in a stalemate position. Blow the whistle right away and let's get them going again.
Yeah, I was the lack of they didn't engage and they didn't control that match that way, so they let things go. It could have been ugly. Like even in the Miguel, thank God that wasn't the reason that it went down the way that it went.
No,
but they needed to be engaged and be in the match and be right there covering.
Just in general, especially when you, like how we're saying, you get in the first period scramble, or even you get away in the second or third, and you start scrambling again. They only have a minute, man. If they're stuck there for a few seconds, blow the whistle and let's get them going.
Yeah, there's no
especially if it's just kind of they're not working towards anything. That's one of my biggest things.
No, I don't blame you. I was like,
it drives me insane.
What I'd say is, I always tell at least Jonathan, I said, hey, dude, don't make excuses and don't leave it up to the refs, right?
Right.
Because if you leave it up to the refs, they will always disappoint you.
Yes.
100%. So it's like the guys who say, well, I was under by 2 ounces at home. And so you get there and then they're like,
check scale,
they're over by like 6. And then you're like, well, you want to leave it to that. But you want to talk a little bit about the PNL event?
Yeah, we
can talk about it. I didn't even see, to be honest with you, I looked and it was incredibly lacking.
Well, the way, like everything that we researched and looked into it, right? It's built up as, these are elite teams, right? It's all high quality wrestling, and there was some good kids in there, but I would say a lot less than. It was less than what I expected.
Yeah.
The way it got kind of built up. I was looking forward to seeing, some maybe the Cortez get out there from Gilroy and get out there. Daniel Zepeda get out there. Yeah. But even like Poway, I didn't see Adam Sierra out there, which I was kind of looking forward to maybe seeing him go against Moses.
I thought he was there. He wasn't there?
I don't recall seeing him in there.
Well, because I looked, and I will tell you, like, the thing here's the thing. Imagine for a second you take a big name school, and then you host it, and you don't have your big guns there.
Right.
Well, the level of commitment to that, look at that, and so it is kind of what it is, but I don't know, maybe they're like those guys are getting ready for something big. I don't see them going to Super 32 either. I didn't see any of that.
Right. And they may be doing other stuff. They may have some, they're probably, I know they've been going out on visits and stuff, everybody prior to the season.
Because they did the pool thing. They had some pool thing. I know.
Yeah, they did that and it was kind of sporadic. It wasn't like every weight. They did it for 121s, 33s, 45s, 60s.
I mean, I certainly would not have paid $5,000 for this. Right? That's
No.
crazy to me. That's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
they tout it as a big thing, so bring big names.
Right.
Don't bring your. This was like Laird Root was there. So good on him for going out there and competing.
Paul
I
Kelly
saw Platt was there. Yes.
Yeah, Platt was there. It was kind of like World Challenge, I guess. Certain weights had some pretty good kids. Like 121s had Christian Castillo for Violent Prep, and he's good. I mean, the kid's a world silver medalist. And then he had and that one also had Devin Bobzian from Poway. Looked like Utah took a team too there. Sanderson Wrestling Academy was there. For them was a Lander Bosch. He's pretty good. We've been on some dual teams with him in the past, and he's I know those three kids are pretty good, but because
I saw like Laird Root and some of those guys too. Like they didn't really get a good. I don't know.
Well, like I said, they might have came down thinking that they were going to catch some different kids and ended up not getting it.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, I'm just looking like even at the squad for Gilroy and the other squads. I think Poway brought a lot of their guys. I mean, there was no Posada, but there was other like Laird Root, like you said, all those other guys that did come. It was good. So
yeah, looks like they brought most of their guys. And then just for nothing, Robert Jones in 121. Like I said, that one had a two pulls, and he ended up matching up. They did like a 1-versus-1, kind of thing against Castillo, and he wrestled him tough. It was only 6'3". And Jones
was badass too.
And Jones wasn't in their lineup last year, and that's pretty good. I mean, to kind of get close to him like that, that's pretty good.
I see one at 60s. Okay, so I saw another one at 60. Laird Root and another Poway kid, right? Bailey Holman. I mean, those were again. That's kind of what you got out there. I had a lot of more high hopes for that.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward when we heard what teams were going to be out there. I was kind of looking forward to a few of the matches, and then they just certain teams.
Because I think Billy pinned his kid. I mean, he pinned the Melanico kid.
Yeah, and like I said, they're teammates, so I mean, they probably they rest each other in the room all the time. I'm sure. But Moses Mendoza won that whole thing, and Moses is tough, man.
Yeah.
Moses is really
one of their
good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Moses this year and what he does.
Because I think Maribel won it at 52s.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is, but we're getting into that season. I'm excited. The season, it feels like it's coming, and I can't wait. I will see how Super 32 goes,
Yeah, that's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see where a lot of the California kids are.
There's a lot of good California kids going. Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
There's a big group going. I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody kind of shows out and see what happens.
Well.